Good boy, Tucker.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
Work smarter where you want.
Consistency is key.
And remember, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened.
This is learning at its most fun.
Welcome, everybody. This is course 2 of the 2020 Redtail Summer Series. I am Austin. Let me kick us off today. Today, we're going to be kind of putting into practice a lot of the skills that you might have learned during course 1, or if you're already sort of, would you consider yourself an intermediate to an advanced user of Redtail CRM. Our goal today is just to give you some strategies on how you can use the tools that you already know and use them in Redtail CRM to further your business. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start off today with the agenda. So we're going to go for about 40 minutes. We're going to take about a 10-minute break at 1:10 to 1:20. So if you need to go to the bathroom or make a call or something like that, we are going to have a 10-minute break right at 1:10 Pacific time, and then we'll go ahead and finish up right before 2 o'clock, because I know some of you East Coast folks are getting later in the day, and so we should have you out by at least 5 for you to continue on with your day and get home for dinner and such. So like I said, my name is Austin Johnson. I'm a trainer here at Redtail Technology. I have about 2 years of experience with the company. They call me the Automation Apostle, or the Apostle of Automation. I'm obsessed with efficiencies. I like to make things as least amount of clicks as possible. So I'm always looking for a new way to reduce clicks. And also joining me today.
Hi, I'm Haley Mandrup. I think I'm going on 7 years at Redtail and got to start on the support team. So if you've emailed Redtail at some point, we might have talked. I'm the Empress of Efficiency. I'm all about streamlining and talking to offices about just ways to make sure that we're not duplicating effort in any way, shape, or form. I'm a big fan of automations and workflows within Redtail, but a lot of the smaller features can also pay off in big wins. So today we're going to be spotlighting small features and big features alike, some things that maybe you thought of or haven't thought of in the database and want to start implementing for your office.
We also need to introduce some of our co-presenters that will be joining us throughout the summer series. So on your left, we have Malcolm. In the middle there, who you might have met already if you joined us early, is Leonidas. And then on the far right is my beautiful little girl, Daisy. Feel free to give them a follow on Instagram. They're always doing adorable, cute things. So if you're a big fan of dogs, go ahead and follow us. And then also send us pictures of your dogs. We love to collaborate and see the different pets from our users. So feel free to share your pictures with us as well.
Yeah, I think that's something we learned on the first iteration of this summer series is all pets are welcome. So if you want to send us pictures of not your dogs, but I think we got a parrot or other cats, whatever your pet is, send us a picture.
All right, so let's go over the format for how we're going to tackle the day today. It's going to be a little bit different. So what we wanted to do is just engage you as many ways as possible. So we have really 3 ways that we're going to be doing that. The first is with Q&A. So if you joined us for course 1, you met Catherine and Curtis, and Catherine and Curtis are joining us here again for course 2 to answer questions that you might have while you're watching the presentation today. So if you have a question like, how do I do this in Redtail CRM? That would be a question for you to go ahead and put into the Q&A box. The chat feature, which is also available here, is going to be reserved for you communicating with Haley and I. We're going to be asking you questions like, which topic would you like to discuss next? That's where you'll go ahead and enter into the chat box to let us know. We might even ask you a question too, and you'll go ahead and answer to us using the chat options as well. And then we also have these things called polls. We'll do a sample in just a second, but what these are is they'll flash onto your screen and you'll be able to choose a list of options. So we're going to ask a question and you'll be able to participate by answering the poll presented. And then finally, the last way we'd like to engage with you is on social media. So we are live on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. Just be sure to set your post to public and tag Redtail Technology. We also want to introduce you to the hashtags that we'll be using for the series. You can tag us at hashtag Redtail Summer Series or the hashtag Strategy Challenge. Also, two other things that we wanted to point your attention to is our boss, Ricky Redtail, has put in the chat box 2 links for you. The one is to download the slide deck for today. So if you want to print out the slide deck and follow along with us today on paper, maybe describe your notes on there, you can go ahead and download a PDF version of the slide deck that's presented today. And then additionally, the team has come together and we developed out a PDF workbook that complements the entire Redtail Summer Series. So a lot of the workflows and automation templates that we'll be presenting today are going to be available to you by visiting that workbook. So Rick's got the link there in the chat box, so feel free to click into there and go ahead and download it so you can follow along with us today. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the Redtail Strategy Challenge. All right, and so like I said, we're going to do a quick little sample poll just to get you comfortable with how the game works, but this is going to be the game board. It's going to look something like this. The first thing we're going to do is ask for you to pick a topic in the chat. So you'll go ahead and chime in with canceled appointments 300, or you can be shorthand and say, you know, CA3 or CA300 to let us know the topic that you're going to want to do. The next thing you're going to do is answer the poll question. And so let me go ahead and just launch a sample poll here, and it is live. And so for the sample poll today, we have a question for you. It is, Redtail CRM gets its name from CEO Brian McLaughlin's pet. Is it his tiger, his unicorn, golden retriever, or goldfish? So go ahead and take a couple seconds in there and answer the poll. We're going to go ahead and close it in 3, 2, 1, ending the poll. All right, and let's see how you did. If you picked golden retriever, that is the correct answer. Redtail CRM, of course, gets its name from Brian's golden retriever, Tucker McLaughlin, who has a predecessor of his new golden retriever, Jet McLaughlin, and he is the official mascot of Redtail CRM, Redtail Technology. And then we also have other golden retrievers such as Leonidas and Daisy that have joined the clan, as well as amongst lots of other dog breeds that come to the office each day. So when you get a poll question correct, go ahead and keep track of your score. So you're going to go ahead and total up your score at the end. We have a special prize for you, so be sure to keep track. We are on the honor system, so be sure to accurately reflect your scores for each poll. You don't get any points for this one. This one was just a sample one, but for the next one, you'll go ahead and put down the point value. So if this was a 300-point question, go ahead and mark yourself down for 300 points. Once we adjust the poll question, we're going to move into a recommendation based off of that answer. So Haley or I will present a recommendation on how we would approach this type of issue or whatever that question relates to inside Redtail CRM. And then we're going to follow up with an example of how you might use your Redtail CRM to help solve that recommendation. All right.
All right. I think we're ready to play.
I think we are too. So let's go ahead and jump into the chat box, everybody. Let us know what question you want to tackle first.
A lot of death and departure. I think we should start this afternoon on a really cheery subject. Let's go to death and departure for 300.
A lovely way to begin the afternoon today. So let's go ahead and look at the question here. All right, that poll is up. So go ahead and put your answers in. I'll go ahead and read the question for us. So what should you do with a client contact record notes after you pass away? Oh, excuse me, after they pass away. So should you delete their notes? Should you do nothing? I mean, of course, they're probably dead now, so you don't need to worry about them. Or should you move, copy, link them to a surviving spouse or beneficiary? So give you 3 seconds to go ahead and answer the poll. Poll closing in 3, 2, 1. We'll go ahead and end the poll and see how you did. If you answered C, move, copy, / link them to a surviving spouse or beneficiary, go ahead and mark yourself down for 300 points. That is the correct answer. Of course, even though that client has passed away, unfortunately, we're still going to need to keep records of all of their notes for compliance reasons, and also to help better serve their accounts when we begin working with either their surviving spouse or beneficiary. So it's very important that we are either moving, copying, or linking those notes to that surviving spouse or beneficiary.
So I do want to point out on this one and a couple other of the questions, we will be presenting Redtail's recommendations, not necessarily like the set in stone right answer. So one of your options could be to do nothing, and that could technically be correct, as long as you have a way of letting everyone in your office know to reference back to that original contact record and view the notes on the original contact record. So this is just our recommendation, but it also depends on how you handle notes on a daily basis on the contacts in your CRM. So we just wanted to give you a couple different options or things to think about on ways to approach this in the future.
Okay, so there's two different methods. The first is to move from to a copy. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the note that exists on one record, and it's going to take it off that record and move it entirely to the next. The other option is copy. Now that means the original note is going to be retained on the original record, but it's going to be copied to the new record. And so you have two options depending on how you go about tracking your notes, like Haley described. Okay. So this is how it would look. We would go ahead and put in the note that the person has unfortunately passed away, and we're going to make sure that we record that. And then once we do that, we're going to choose the action icon there listed underneath the note that's been added. So you see there towards the bottom, it says customer service comments actions. We're going to choose actions, and then we can either move that note or copy that note to another contact record.
Very helpful suggestion from Gabrielle. She adds a note in the job title, deceased, and then the date of that they passed away. And it's very helpful to see under their name. Well, I did want to let Gabrielle and everyone else know we have a new feature. If you fill out the date of death field, then a red banner will show with the fact that they are deceased and then the date that they passed away. So that was a great workaround, but now we have a feature that will set that up for you and show underneath their name. And thank you for letting us know about that. That's awesome. So that's just our first tip. You've played your first round. If you got the answer right, you now have 300 points. If you didn't get it right, which question do you want to go to next? Client reviews for 200. Thanks, Esther. Esther was ready with that. I think she had it ready and typed out.
All right, let's go ahead and client reviews 200. All right, so let's go ahead and launch the poll. It's live, and here we go. According to Redtail Technologies AdvisorCom 2019 survey, how do financial advisory firms communicate with their clients most often? Is it in person? Is it via phone call? Is it video calls? Or is it D, through texting? So go ahead and enter in your answers. We'll go ahead and give you 3 more seconds. Poll is going to be closing in 3, 2, 1. Ending the poll. And let's see how you did. All right, so it looks like we have 79% of you saying that it is phone calls. It's actually, we found that it was in person is the most common way that clients are being interacted with from their advisor. I would probably guess to say that since these last couple months, I'd see a big uptick in phone calls and video calls. However, though, being that the in-person option has been taken away from us. And so, yeah, if you put in person, you got the answer correct. So all 64 of you, go ahead and put yourself down for 200 points. And let's talk about the recommendation about this.
Just to reiterate too, if you don't see the polls, if you're using the web version of Zoom, you won't see the polls, but just keep track of your score and using the honor system, because that's what we're using here.
All right, so here's the application. Was the actual results. We found that 76% of people are communicating most often with in-person meetings, 66% via phone calls, 13% via video calls, and only 10% via texting. So whatever form of communication that you're using, you're going to want to make sure that you're tracking those in your Redtail CRM using the activity type. The activity type refers to the medium in which the meeting is going to take place. So for example, if I was having a client review a meeting on my calendar, I'd want to use that type drop down there to either indicate whether it's an appointment, a phone call, maybe it's a Zoom meeting. You can create custom types for yourself to be able to track the different mediums for how you're meeting with your clients.
Curtis and Catherine talked about type and category earlier, but just in case you didn't join us or you want a little bit of a refresher, the type determines the color that appointment shows on the calendar, and it's what you want to report on. So you don't want a type list a mile long unless you're running reports all the time, which none of us like to do. So if you want to keep this list short, dynamic, and you want to use these as categories or as higher level options under which your categories lie. So for example, appointment is going to hold a client review, maybe an onboarding meeting, or other categories underneath it. And you'll see more of this tied together in our other questions as well. Where would you like to go next? Wealth transfer 500. Justin's like, I want the points right now. So we're going to go to wealth transfer 500.
Big money question. So with the 500-point questions today, we're going to make it just a little bit more challenging. These ones aren't going to be a poll type question. They're actually going to be an interactive question. So you're going to go ahead and type out your response to us in the chat option. So the question that we have for you today is, what is your practice doing to connect with your next generation of clients? So go ahead and enter in your answer for different strategies that your office is using to interact with your next generation of clients.
Texting. Oh, I saw texting, family meetings. Nothing at this point. That's all right. That's probably why we're watching the webinar today.
Mm-hmm. Website, LinkedIn. That's a great one to do as well.
Zoom meetings, social media, hosting, referral events. I see a lot of different options in here. This is great, guys.
Wow. Sounds like you guys got some awesome strategies in place. Here are some ideas that Haley and I came up with. You can send them birthday cards on their birthday to recognize their special day. Family planning meetings, which were already mentioned. College planning seminars, helping your next generation client manage their student debt. We hear about the student debt crisis all the time. And then the only right answer or wrong answer would be nothing. They don't have money yet. But they will, of course. So let's be sure that we have a plan in place to make sure that we are not allowing those assets under management to walk out the door.
I love using my own personal experience as an example. We didn't hear from my grandpa's advisor until after he'd passed away, and that's not a great experience. So don't do that. Reach out to your clients, talk to your clients about what they want their families to be involved in. So how do we apply that in Redtail?
Yeah, definitely. So whatever process that you're doing, the best way to do it is just make sure that it's automatic, right? That we're making sure that when certain actions are happening inside Redtail CRM, we're immediately prompted to take action on them. And so earlier today, Curtis and Catherine went through how to create automation templates. Here is an example of one that you might use for a required information automation. And what it does is when you add either a spouse to the database or a child of the client to the database, you're going to record important things like their date of birth. So that way, you know what day you should send their birthday card out on. You can add important things like their tax ID numbers, maybe certain accounts that they might hold. And so what this does is it prompts your team to be sure that you're entering the valuable information that your team will need when it comes time to service this client in the future.
So what is this really doing? This is making sure, like Austin said, that you're keeping track of important information about someone who is really important to your business, but maybe not the first person you think about. When we think about the people that matter to our business, clients are number one. Family of clients really should be a close second, because those are built-in prospects, and that's where the money you're managing is most likely going anyway. So we have this great visual we use in other presentations where this little boy is trying to pick up a ball, and as he's reaching down, a ball within a cup is falling out as he's reaching for the next ball. Think of your existing clients as that family being that other ball. You don't want to be reaching for the next prospect as your family of your deceased client is falling out behind as you're reaching for the new prospect. So keep that in mind. You have a bunch of contacts already that you may not have information for. And the best way to keep track of information for those family members is to automate that process and make sure that you're keeping track of specific information about them through something like an automation and a workflow.
Absolutely. All right, back to the game board. Where do you guys want to go next?
Does anyone have 900 points yet? Let us know in the chat. Oh wait, 1,000 points. I can do math.
We're good. It gets a little bit more tricky, especially there's some daily doubles that might be in there too. So Haley, I saw the first answer came in from Michelle. She wants canceled appointments 500.
Canceled appointments, 500. We're going for those big points. All right. So remember with the 500, we're answering in chat. Do you have a strategy in place for when clients cancel your appointments? Let us know in chat. Yes, I see lots of yeses. Yes, yes, no, but we should. Love that one. I see a lot of no, but I should. Yes, follow up.
Good.
Awesome. It's kind of a mix. I'd say it's split.
Yes, definitely. But I'm seeing a lot of people that are saying no, saying that they should. So that's good. Yeah, if you went ahead and answer the question in the chat box, go ahead and give yourself 500 points. And so how do we recommend that you handle your canceled appointments in Redtail CRM? Well, the first thing to do is we're going to save the original activity as a clone. So we have the event on our calendar for client review Tuesday at 10 o'clock, right? And let's say Tim Taylor calls in and he says, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to make the meeting today. Can we push it off to Friday? What you're going to do is you're going to open up that activity first. You're going to save and clone it. What that's going to do is it's going to create two different copies of the same meeting, one of which we're going to go ahead and push forward to Friday, and the other one's going to stay right at Tuesday at that 10 a.m. slot. Okay? And then what we're going to do with the one that's cloned, the one that's moved to Friday, is we're going to adjust the category. Okay? Or excuse me, I got that backwards. We're going to adjust the category for the one that's on Tuesday and mark it off as canceled. So that way we know when we go to Tuesday at 10 o'clock that that meeting has been canceled, but yet it still holds a spot on our calendar to let us know that there was a meeting that was originally scheduled there. Okay. And then we're going to move the original activity forward to the new rescheduled date.
That's a lot, right? A lot to visualize. You said it very well, Austin. We have a little bit of a visual to help you out here. So here's our original activity. Say we opened this activity up, and we're going to go on the right-hand side under Save and Clone. You probably don't use this option very much. We definitely don't hear that it's used a lot, but it's so valuable when you do use it. So for example, if I have a task on my calendar and I didn't finish that task, but it took me 3 hours on Tuesday and I'm going to work on it again on Thursday, I'm going to save and clone that activity so that one clone can move forward, but I can still complete the 3 hours that I spent working on it on Tuesday on my calendar. We got this request for a Redtail recommendation on canceled appointments just for that reason. Advisors were looking back on their calendars and saying, why is my calendar empty? There's nothing there. Well, it was due to appointments that had been scheduled but were canceled, and there was no reflection of that on the calendar. So here we're going to open the original activity, like Austin said, save and clone. That's going to bring us to the cloned activity. We know it's the cloned activity because on the right-hand side, it will say created by, and then it will have your name, and then it will have the current date and the current time. You're going to change the category to canceled. A lot of clients also like to change the subject to canceled so that it's more visible and you like that option there. And then you're going to save and complete that activity. So this one was originally scheduled for May 20th at 2 p.m. It's getting completed on May 20th at 2 p.m. Once we save and complete it, Redtail takes you back to the original activity. Just reiterating again what Austin said, you can then change the subject to reschedule. If you need to still reschedule it, adjust it to an all day, maybe make it a task if it's a task to reach out and reschedule. Or if you already rescheduled with them on the phone, then make the type as appointment and go ahead and make it to the date and time that you rescheduled for. But play around with this in your office and in your database. If you already have a process in place, then you can maybe tie in some of this to your existing process. Or if you don't have a process in place, consider making this your process.
All right, awesome stuff. Back to the game board. Where would you like to go next? All right, we're sticking with the theme of 500 points. Deborah wants scheduling appointments for 500 next.
Awesome. Scheduling appointments for 500. So remember, with 500-point questions, you're typing in the chat. Do you use a calendar scheduling tool so that clients can select their own appointment times? Let us know yes, no. What's the name of the calendar scheduling tool that you use? Lots of no's, lots of yeses, lots of acuities.
Calendly on there a couple times.
Yep.
Schedule Once, another great tool to use.
Time Trade,
And Trade, there's another one.
Schedule Once, Microsoft.
Yeah, that's right. Outlook actually just expanded their services to include an internal scheduling tool. I haven't been able to play around with it much, but I heard great things about it.
So consider using a calendar scheduling tool with Redtail. Now, Redtail does not directly integrate with any of these, Acuity, Time Trade, Schedule Once, but that doesn't mean we don't integrate at all. We can integrate through Google and Outlook 365. So if you have a Google hosted email account or an Outlook 365 hosted email account, then contact our support team. We'll talk through some of the syncing options for you. And many of these options can be used, Acuity, Time Trade, Schedule Once. And if your broker dealer doesn't allow it, because I saw a couple of those in there too, these are great options to recommend to your broker dealer that they can look into. It is new, and sometimes broker dealers have not adopted, what's new just yet, but let them know that other broker dealers are looking at these options, and it really would help streamline your scheduling.
Yeah, the other option is a really cool software called Zapier. It allows for you to create kind of custom integrations for yourself, which Redtail does integrate with. So the way it works is we take Redtail CRM, we integrate it with Zapier, and then we can create what are called Zaps to integrate with different scheduling apps. Now, this would be for users that aren't already using Google Calendar or an Office 365 calendar and can integrate via Retriever Cloud. Either way you do it, it works well. Just find what works best for you in your practice.
I've also found that, say maybe you don't want to send your client a link, you want to give them a more personal experience, you can use the calendar scheduling tool just to streamline scheduling internally. So set up Calendly for yourself, and only your team looks at the available times on Calendly, but clients don't ever actually use the link. It's a great way to parse out from your calendar what's available and how to allocate your time. Maybe we don't schedule appointments on Monday through Friday, only Tuesdays and Thursdays, for example.
I worked with an office last week actually who found that particularly useful because they had all these different advisors that they were scheduling for, and they all had their own set hours of availability. And so how is one to know? Well, the advisor went into Calendly, set up the availability, and then the scheduler always knew when they should or should not be scheduling appointments. So it's a great complement to the features that are already available in Redtail Calendar.
I love that. And I saw a question from many of our longtime users. We've had this retriever tool, pun on golden retrievers, and is desktop based. It was PC based. We've released Retriever Cloud, which syncs in the cloud. It's not PC based. It works on Mac and computers, really, because it's not on computers at all. It's syncing via the cloud with Google or Microsoft Exchange or Outlook 365. So if you're interested in that, contact our support team. They can walk you through the setup of Retriever Cloud for your Outlook 365 or Google hosted email addresses, which is kind of cool.
All right, let's head on back to the game board. Where would everybody like to go next? Another 500. All right, Brandon wants employee management for 500.
Employee management is something we don't really think of the CRM for, so I love this category. Where or do you have an exit plan in place for when an employee leaves your practice? Let us know. Yes, no, but I should. I love that answer. It's just me. I love that. Yeah, if it's just you, let's think about when we should onboard a new employee, when to know it's time.
Well, I am seeing a decent amount of no's. So, Haley, why don't we make a case for them to see why they should have an exit strategy?
I love this one. They said, no, the boss will fall off his chair. So we've heard this one a lot too, is employees are not allowed to leave, don't know how real that one is. Yes or no?
I don't know how the HR department would feel about that one, but no, we definitely recommend having an exit strategy in place, and particularly recording that stuff inside your Redtail CRM for a number of reasons. The first I would probably point out is data security, right? You're going to have lots of different logins, including your login for Redtail CRM, where you're not going to want to have that former employee have access back into your CRM system or even their email account to be able to sabotage good data that you've been adding to your Redtail CRM. And so we want to avoid retaliation. And so that's why we want to have a strategic plan in place to say, okay, we need to be changing passwords. We need to be disabling access And then additionally, another good reason to have an exit strategy in place is you can actually get a lot of really good feedback from your employees as they're leaving your firm, talking about, hey, what was it like to work for us as an employee? What is some feedback that we can do for your replacement? How can we make their job even better? And what can we do to improve? And a great way to do that would be to just create a contact record for them inside Redtail CRM, and then record that as a note. Probably want to make it private too, so setting the privacy options for that note, so that way it's only for your eyes or your management team's eyes. But that's a great way for you to be able to generate feedback and record to get better with managing employees.
I think with this feature, we're looking at workflows, right? So I'm creating a process for when you have a new employee or when you have an employee leave for whatever reason. So even if it's just you, think about what you would have to do to bring on another employee. Think about everything that's in your head, all that knowledge that's in your head. How would you share that with a new employee? I know internal training is something Redtail is currently working on, or always working on, as we hire new employees, and trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the new person and say, how would we want them to experience our company at the beginning? And then how would we want them to experience our company at the end if they're leaving for whatever reason? So having a workflow would be our recommendation here, a new employee workflow or a departing employee workflow. These are both included in your follow-up PDF. These are just Redtail samples that you can use to build off of. And if these are not applicable to you, say you're the only person in your office, think about what information you would want to share with someone if you did have a new employee come on, or maybe an intern to come help you part-time. What would they need to know, or what access would they need to have? You can even go so far as to stretch this out and say, what would I need to provide to an auditor? If an auditor is coming around, how do I make that into a process and use a workflow to allow for that type of scenario? And what's really cool about the workflows that we wanted to highlight here is you can insert links into them. So for those new employee workflows, you can put in webinars, just like this one, and send your new employees to watch a video and learn about Redtail. That's how we train internal employees here as well. But you can insert links to any documentation. Maybe you have broker-dealer documentation or resources that you'd like them to have available to them as well.
Absolutely. Hey, just wanted to give everybody a reminder. I'm seeing a little bit of questions come into the chat options. Just be sure that if you have questions about Redtail CRM or some of the features that we're talking about, to direct those into the Q&A box. Curtis and Catherine are standing by to be able to help you out with those. All right, let's head back to the game board and let's see where we want to go next.
Wealth transfer 100. I saw it. It came in. Thank you, Josh. Wealth transfer 100.
All right, awesome. This one is kind of a consultant level question. Here we go. It's called, actually, I forgot. Poll.
This one's a tough one.
All right, everybody, poll is live. Let's go ahead and read through the question. So, according to the Deloitte Center for Financial Services, which of the following are recommended strategies for financial services to connect with their next gen clients? So, a reputable consultant for finance, for the financial industry, what do they recommend you do for connecting with the next gen client? And so I'll give you about 3 more seconds to put your answer in there. We're going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Poll is closing. All right, let's see how you did. You answered D, all of the above. You got it right. Go ahead and mark yourself down for 100 points. And so, yeah, these are just some recommendations that we came along in our reading with being able to provide services to that next gen client. The application for Redtail would be to making sure that we are taking our high value clients and treating them as high value clients, but also treating their family as high value clients, because they are going to become a high value client in the future. So how does that work? Well, it all works with their adding them to the CRM record. And so by having their records in there, we're not like with Haley's grandfather's financial advisor, where we're trying to gather their phone number and email after they've already passed away. We already know about them. We know important details about them. We know how to reach them. We have it all available to us inside Redtail CRM.
My favorite instance or circumstances, whenever a client reaches out to me and they say, how do I search for all of my spouses of clients that have birthdays in May? And I go, okay, let's search for status is equal to spouse of client and birthday is May. And nobody comes up. and they say, oh, well, I guess that's not right. I know there's got to be some birthdays in May. You have to make sure you're putting information into the system with a purpose so you can pull it out with a purpose. If they're not labeled as spouses of clients, or they don't have the same category as their client, A, AA, or AAA, then there's not a great way to search and filter to them. So any information you want to be able to report on, it has to be put into the system. Or another one is a fun question. What do you call a child of a client who's over 18? Do you know what you call that, Austin?
No. What do you call it?
What do you call it? A client, a child of a client that's over 18? Well, that's a prospect, right? So I need to be able to sort by all of my clients that are, or children of clients that are over 18, and then relabel them to prospects and start reaching out to them. Maybe not in that way, like a bulk action just like that, but you have to have their birthday in the system to be able to search on that age. And it just gives you a bigger picture of your client's life. So what's going on in their family? And remember, the family is the tax definition of family, the way that it's set up in Redtail.
All right, great stuff. Let's head back to the game board. Where would you like to go next?
We always try to go to cheerier subjects, but death always comes back around. Let's go to death and departure for 400.
All right, everybody, the poll is live. Go ahead and put your answers in there. The question for you is, according to Investment News, what are some practical strategies advisors can do to help a surviving spouse? A, schedule extra time for the first meeting to listen. B, provide a list of organizations in your area that provide support to surviving spouses. C, schedule monthly check-ins with the surviving spouse for the next 12 months. Or D, all of the above. So go ahead and put your answers in. I'll give you 3 seconds. We're going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. If you answered D, all of the above, that is correct. These are all recommendations that came directly from Investment News about how to handle helping that surviving spouse through the loss of their loved one. And so what's our recommendation for doing this inside Redtail CRM? It's an automation. We want to make sure that as soon as that person is passing away and we enter in them as deceased, that we're linking the client death workflow and including reaching out to that surviving spouse to provide them services like planning extra time with the first meeting or providing them with a list of organizations to help them through a difficult time. And so the quicker we can respond to this, the better service that we can provide to the client's spouse and hopefully retain some of those assets that we had under management with that family.
Just like we saw in wealth transfer, when we can identify where someone's at as they relate to our business, that's their status in Redtail. That's their relationship status with our business. So as soon as that relationship changes, a lot of things become due. We have to ask for a death certificate. We have to send flowers. We have to see when maybe we have to go to a service and pay our respects. All of those things become due almost immediately, and they're on your mind. It's easier to coach your team and keep everyone on the same page if they only have to do one thing, and they only have to update the status in Redtail to deceased, which then automatically links a workflow. And the same thing goes for inactive clients. So when somebody goes inactive, they didn't pass away, but they're not your client anymore, right? I had an advisor who had deceased and then dead to me. There were 2 different ones. Inactive is the one we see more common where they're just not currently a client. And either way, we want a different workflow to link. And then the client deceased workflow would guide us through the steps to do if a client's passed away, and then the client inactive or offloading process would guide us through someone who's gone inactive.
And if you want to see our recommendation for a nice client death workflow to begin building your process around, be sure to check out that PDF handout that's available in the chat option that Rick sent out. We got a perfect example of a client death workflow for you to begin building your process around.
All right, I saw canceled appointments for 200 come in 3 times, so I think that's where we're going to go ahead and go next. Canceled appointments for 200. Oh, it's a double.
Oh, double time. Haley,
Cheers.
Cheers.
That means double points. So this is a big point question, folks.
400 for 400 points. What's the first thing you should do when a client cancels their appointment? Should you A, fire them, B, hang up on them, C, insult them, Or D, record a linked note on the activity?
I love this question because it's what's the first thing you should do, not the first thing you want to do.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and see how you guys responded. All right, well, we only got 2 people saying that they would insult them. The rest of you said record a link note on the activity, and that's what we recommend doing as well. We want to make sure that we're recording why that appointment's being canceled, because oftentimes it's not always the client that's doing it. Sometimes we have to cancel, or there's some, maybe a global pandemic going around that would prevent us from meeting again. So that's why it's important for us to go ahead and make sure that we're recording the reason for the cancellation, because that's going to determine things later on when we have to schedule that next appointment. And so important things to know, notes are date, time, and user stamped. So when we're recording that note, we want to make sure that we are recording when the client is canceled, which is automatically added by Redtail. Why the cancellation occurred, that's going to be what you're going to input. And then who initiated the cancellation. Was it either you or was it the client?
I think a big one to track here, which we don't have necessarily on the slide, is tracking when they canceled in relation to when you confirmed or when their meeting is. Did they cancel one day before the meeting, on the day of the meeting? Did they just not show up? Mm-hmm. Or when you confirmed 2 days before, is there a high rate of cancellations then? And maybe we should confirm a week before. Right. I know every time my dentist tries to reach out to confirm, I'm canceling that 100%. And I'm going to reschedule it for a couple months down the road.
All right, so here's an example of what it looks like. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your calendar and you're going to open up that activity. It's going to take you to the activities details screen. And then along the right-hand side, there's going to be a section that's called link notes. So here's an example of a link note that you might put in. Dolly called and she's not going to be able to come to the office today, looking to reschedule after the stay-at-home order is lifted. Okay, we're going to go ahead and categorize that as canceled no-show. So that way we can run a report and be able to report back on all of our canceled and no-shows for a certain time period or for a certain contact record in our database.
I don't know about you, Austin, but we've been at this for a while. I need to top off my beverage here.
Oh, definitely.
Break. So we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll return after 10 minutes. Get up, stretch, get another drink. We'll see you back in 10 minutes. We're right at the time to return, and I want to applaud Marvin. We're chatting about what states we've been to or where we've been, and Marvin's like, no, I know we're on break. Let's go to scheduling 300. So I want to respect that. Can we start with scheduling appointments 300?
Let's do it. All right, everybody, the poll is live. So according to a study conducted by Verizon Business, the average U.S. business professional attends how many meetings per month? How many meetings? Think about all the different meetings that you go to per month. How many would you say that is? And would you think that's comparable to the average business professional?
I don't even know if I could estimate how many meetings I'm in a month.
You do have a lot of, we both have a pretty good amount of meetings. Let's see how everybody else answered. Let's end the poll now, and let's go ahead and look at the results. So most of you, looks like 43% of you said around 40 meetings per month. If you answered 60 meetings per month, that's the correct answer. That's what Verizon Business ended up detecting, which is a lot of meetings to go into a month. That's more than like 2 a day if you think about it. If you're only working 20 days out of that's actually almost 3 a day now that I think about it. But yeah, so lots and lots of different meetings, particularly for the financial advisor profession specifically, because that's how you guys make your money, right? You go and meet with clients and discuss financial advice. And so if you had trouble answering that question, you can also use your Redtail CRM to answer this question. And you can report on the different types of appointments. And so you can kind of assess where is your time being allotted? How much time are you spending with clients? How many time are you spending with meeting internally with your staff? How many hours of the month are you using to on phone calls? You know, how are you allotting your month? And so the best way to do this is with both the activities in your Redtail CRM. So recording those onto your calendar, and like we mentioned previously, using the type option to record the different ways that you're going to be allotting your time. So using conjunction of both activity type and activity category.
Again, this is where I start to sound like a broken record. This is the point in the presentation where Haley breaks. And I repeat myself, but you want to put information into the system with a purpose to pull it out with a purpose. So we get these questions all the time. How many cancellations? How many internal meetings? How many client reviews by advisor? How many virtual versus in-person versus phone reviews? Or I've even seen a mailing review where you've tried to schedule with that person. They just it didn't connect for whatever reason, or they didn't respond to you at all. So you put together some kind of packet and snail mail them their review packet. Maybe you want to track all of those and compare. You're going to need to have types and categories that are different for each of those, and then report on those using the activities by contact report. And I answered this question earlier. Somebody said, well, how's the correct way to keep track of a client phone call or leaving a voicemail? Or how's the correct way to keep track of, and then fill in the blank? And our answer is going to be either through an activity or a note or a workflow. But which of those is correct depends on your office structure, your office setup, your office processes. A client review might be super simple in your office, or it might be super complex. If it's super complex and a lot of people are involved, maybe a workflow. But for most of these interactions that are being scheduled on the calendar at a date and a time, then you're going to want to use an activity, and that activities by contact report is the way to go for reporting on this stuff.
That's right. All right, back to the game board. Where would you like to head to next?
Employee management for 100.
All right, let's
Employee
do it.
management is one of my favorite categories.
So we actually don't have a poll for this one. We actually wanted to hear what it is that you were doing. We put up some of our ideas here, but what are you doing in your office to foster team building and community between coworkers? So what are some team building exercises, maybe some games you play, or just some kind of event that you look forward to each year to be able to meet with your employees and build and foster those relationships?
Fly fishing. Fly fishing came in.
That's a good one. Lot of dinners, lunches.
Food is the way to everyone's. Yep. Good job.
Food is the way to go. A lot of recognition on birthdays. That's always good.
Read books together. That's awesome. Yoga.
Goat yoga. Okay.
I missed that one. That's awesome. Escape rooms. Escape rooms are huge lately. Well, not lately, but lately, a couple months ago lately. Escape rooms are definitely big. If you're looking for digital options, there's Jackbox or Kahoot or online games that you can play via Zoom meetings that are fun.
Yeah, Redtail actually just did a couple. Towards the beginning of last month, we did a trivia night. So our boss, Ricky Redtail, built out a nice trivia using the software called Kahoots. And we all got to participate and compete for prizes for answering trivia questions. And then we also had a lot of fun last week. We got to do a bingo scavenger hunt. So that was hosted by our CEO, Brian. And he would read off an item, and we'd have to go scurry around the house and go through drawers and find that certain item. So we'd say, go find me 2 AA batteries, and we'd have to go run through the house and find 2 AA batteries. If we had the batteries, then we could mark the spot off on our bingo card. So we had a fun time competing and just being able to interact with all of our fellow employees that we don't get to see anymore because we don't get to have that in-office environment. So it's so great to connect with them. So here's a recommendation for how you might apply this into Redtail is with the team notices section. So it kind of gets overlooked sometimes, but it's right there on the Today page. You just got to scroll down just a little bit past your workflow task to do section, and you will see it's almost like a running board, like a message running board. It will cycle through different messages, and it's a great place for you to notify your team about certain things that might be happening internally in your office. So if you're going to be doing goat yoga on Friday or going fly fishing on Saturday, you can let the team know all about what's going on and the details in that team notices section.
So here's just some examples. Meeting on Friday, welcome a new team member, or words to live by in ours. If it's not in Redtail, it didn't happen. But those team notices are kind of like a shared sticky note, if you will, with the database. It'll just rotate through different messages. Austin always changes ours out. It's different jokes all the time.
You don't like my humor?
No, I do. It's very dad humor.
All right, back to the drawing board. let's go back and let's see where you guys would like to go next.
I love everyone's putting in what they want to go next. And Allison's like, I want to do goat yoga. I'm with you, Allison, all the way. Client reviews for 500. Somebody wants to go for points.
Big points. Here we go. All right, so again, this is a 500-point question, so you got to share a response with us if you want 500 points. The question is how do you get an advisor to enter his or her notes after a client meeting? So we're asking you, okay, because we get this question a lot. So we're pointing the finger back at you. How do you get your advisor to enter their notes back into the CRM after a client meeting?
Gotta read some of these. Nag, 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 beg and cry, harass him, beg, pester, remind, guilt trip. Guilt trip's a new one.
Ooh. Blackmail is also a great one.
Lawsuit. All right. Wow, this is aggressive.
How about workflow? There's a good one. I like that. Email reminders. Wow, lots and lots of responses. These are hilarious.
Wow, I love Rosalind. We're married, so divorce.
Rosalind, I bet that's effective. I bet so. So here are some common responses that we get. Workflows, as mentioned, sticky notes on their computer to monitor, making them know. You can also put activities on their calendar saying, hey, make sure you put your notes in there. Yelling we get that one a lot too. Depends on your relationship with the advisor. And then, of course, you do get this request a lot, which is, I don't know, can you help me with that?
And advisors on the call, we're not picking on you guys, or guys or gals. You guys are busy. You've got a lot going on. That is a big meeting that you sit through, right? That client review meeting. And a lot of times it's daunting to put down all of that information that happens in that review. So we are not trying to rag on you at all. It's just a common theme we see in the industry. So we want to help make it easier on advisors and easier on staff to get those notes and easier on advisors to put those notes in. So how do we make it easier? We make templates that guide you through that process. A couple answers I saw were Copy Talk and Mobile Assistant. Those are dictation options. So if your advisor doesn't like to type or doesn't type very well or doesn't want to, I hate typing, so I would go for dictation 100% of the time. Or a Redtail option is a note template. So you can designate the correct category. You can have searchable text already filled out in it. So maybe you can say, this is a note that records a client review meeting, and then keep track of like what is generally covered in a review meeting, and then have some questions that guides the advisor through answering what was changed, what's new, and ensures consistency really.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of note templates is if I'm working with multiple different people, all of our notes look the same. So I can almost just look at the note and be like, that is a client review note because it follows the same format and we're all entering the same types of information. And so if you're dealing a lot with inconsistent notes or missing pieces of information, note templates are the way to go. And of course, we have some examples for you available in the PDF version of the workbook. So be sure to check out some of those examples for different instances in which you use note templates. Shown here is just a template for a post-client meeting. These are just the different details that we're going to want to make sure that we record every single time when we record a client meeting.
I saw a couple options in chat too where it said it helps if I tell him, just tell me what you want to say and I type it in myself. So you as the admin are typing it. These templates work both ways, right? They're just going to guide you through what questions you want to ask them. What should they be covering in their notes after a review, or what do they like to have in their after review notes? And you can add whatever questions you'd like to these as well. So I've even seen what's a summary, like a client-facing summary at the end, and then you copy and paste that last part into the follow-up email for the client. So you're kind of streamlining your follow-up as well just by having these note templates available.
Yeah, I got one last pro tip on that. If you're looking for like a cheaper way to get dictation for your notes, consider using our mobile app. So you can use the microphone that comes equipped on most smartphones to be able to transcribe your notes using the mobile app. Now, again, it's going to be a computer typing out your notes, so it's not going to be as accurate. So just be sure that you go through, read it through, edit, of course. But again, if you want even more accuracy, then you would consider upgrading to an integration partner like Mobile Assistant or Copy Talk, because then you're getting a human transcriptionist. So if you're looking for a cheap free one, use the mobile app. If you want something more accurate and not as much review work, then maybe consider an integration partner like Copy Talk or Mobile Assistant.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's go to client reviews 300. Jennifer was ready with that one.
Let's do it. All right, the poll is live, and the question is, according to Financial Advisor magazine, which of the following is the biggest reason why millionaire investors leave their financial advisors? So we'll go ahead and give you a second to mull over that. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll in 3, 2, 1. Let's end the poll and let's see how you did. 91% of you said not being proactive in contacting them, and yeah, that's the right answer. It's very interesting when you think about it, is that your client hires you to be able to create their portfolio and get them great returns and help them plan for their life. But really, the biggest thing that they want is they just want to feel that love. They want to know that you're being proactive in contacting them and keeping them informed and such. And so that's an important reason why a CRM tool is so important to your business, is because that's specifically what it focuses in on, is being able to do things like run reports when it's been too long since you've last contacted that client. And so we have a couple of different recommendations for you here for using that CRM functionality in that same way. The first is called the Activities by Contact report. This is so you can report on who you have contacted, right? We're looking for future tense. We're seeing these are the people that we have reached out to. And then we also have another really cool report called the No Contact report. And what the No Contact report lets you know who haven't you talked to in a while. So it's going to give you days since the last time you've interacted with them. So you can use that report to see, hey, in the last year, how many people have I not been able to reach out to and discuss a client review for that time period. So handy tool inside your Redtail CRM to make sure that you're being proactive in contacting your clients.
That no contact report, I cannot stress that enough, Austin. That report is money. It's awesome. You go to reports on the left-hand side, contact reports, and then no contact down at the bottom. It's underneath this picture here. And you can filter to who has not had a note or activity in a certain amount of time. So it's my favorite thing to do on trainings with clients. I will say, hey, have you reached out to all of your clients in the past year? And they go, yes, of course, I'm required to. And then my next question is, does the data reflect that? So yes, you've said you do reach out, you have reached out to them, but does the data say that? If it's not in Redtail, it didn't happen. And a lot of the times what comes up on that report is just where a note was missed or an activity was not completed. It's not usually a big red flag where you haven't reached out to a whole subset of clients, but it's usually showing where a note or an activity just got missed, and it happens.
Great stuff. Back to the game board. Where are we headed next? Ooh, Michelle was right on it. She says scheduling appointments for 400. Right. All right, so poll is up. We found a study by a company called callhippo.com, and they surveyed what is the best day of the week for making business calls. So what do you think it was? Do you think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday?
Have you seen in the pandemic that we don't have Monday through Friday anymore? We just have day. Everything's crossed out.
Time is just a circle at this point.
One more thing. My favorite thing is every Friday we have a Friday meeting, and one of the coworkers comes in and she goes, "Remember, do not work tomorrow."
I probably could benefit from a reminder like that. All right, let's see how everybody responded. Looks like the overwhelming majority of us said that it was Tuesday. Call it, interestingly, found enough that it was Wednesday. They said that it was definitely not Monday, and it definitely was not Friday, but that mid of the week, particularly the middle of the week, was the best day for making business calls. So do what you wish with that information, but when it comes to scheduling appointments, you might consider reaching out to them on a particular day, like a Tuesday or Wednesday, because that seems to be the most effective time to reach out to clients. And so when you're doing that, you're going to want to make sure that you are using an activity template. So an activity template saves us a lot of time from being able to type in all those different client review meetings every time. So if we find ourselves scheduling like 5, 6, 7 client reviews a day, why don't we create ourselves a template so we can pre-fill a lot of that information so we don't have to type it out each time. So this is an example of an activity template that you might use for getting a client signature. So the subject would be signatures. It's already going to set the appointment, the type to appointment and the category to signatures. And then we can even pre-fill the description box with an agenda or certain deliverables that we want to get done as part of that activity.
I love activity templates. They're not necessary for everything, but definitely for those most common types of activities that are scheduled. So you won't have an activity template for jury duty. You only get called once every 18 months. At least that's how it's supposed to happen, right? So you won't have it for everything, but you will have it for the most common items. I have one for tasks and certain types of meetings. It just simplifies everything and then reminds you what should be accomplished within that activity. Like in our example, setting out the water, making sure the conference room is clean, or additional reminders within the description there. So definitely utilize your activity templates. And where would you like to go next? And, oh, Death 400. I keep seeing Death 400 come up. Oh, wait, we already did Death.
Love that. Oh, okay. Well, we got another one for Reviews 400. Maybe we can go there.
Okay, let's do that one. We can't repeat questions. That would be 2 easy points.
All right. So here's the question for Client Review 400. For 400 points, according to kitchus.com, which of the following is not recommended to have as part of your client meeting prep checklist? Which is not part of your client meeting prep checklist, according to the industry wizard, Michael Kitchus. And so what does he say? Poll is live. Go ahead and throw in your answers there. And we'll give you about 3 more seconds to go ahead and enter in your response. I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. If you said D, or excuse me, E, that is E, give yourself 400 points. That's right. They're all important. If you've ever seen this resource, it's like a full-on 2-page document of all the different things that you got to get done as part of a client review process. And so how do we keep track of all that, right? It's a huge checklist. Do we just have paper and paper and paper everywhere? No, we should use a workflow inside our Redtail CRM that details out that process. Another great part of workflows is that it sequences. So we're not being thrown that whole checklist all at one time, right? We're breaking it into sections and being able to take up pieces at a time. So we're just focusing on the preparation stage. We're just focusing on the day of the meeting, and we're just focusing on the follow-up. We don't need to necessarily tackle the entire list all at once. And so if you're not using it already for your client review process, consider using a workflow to make sure that everything gets done and nothing falls through the cracks.
Couple pro tips on this one. If you have many advisors in your office, try to get everyone on the same page and use the same workflow. It works best if everyone is using the same process, and make it very high level. They can add their special sauce or their pizzazz to their specific workflows as they're open, but try and make a general one that everyone else can work off of. And another question we get is, why doesn't Redtail just put templates in our database? They're all the same anyway. I have seen hundreds of variations, if not thousands of variations on the client review workflow process. It's different for every office. I can't even put 3 tasks together that every office does. Confirming is different for every office. Follow-up is different for every office. I had an office in Hawaii who would drive over a client packet every time after the meeting. I bet most of us on this call do not drive the follow-up physically over to our clients' office or houses every time. That's not feasible for a lot of us, right? So there's a lot of different steps, a lot of different tasks that make up your workflow. And we've provided you with 2, a short and a long version in the follow-up PDF to work off of and decide which one applies to you guys more.
If you joined us this morning, Curtis and Catherine went through the process for creating your own client review meeting workflow. If you didn't be able to make course 1 this morning, don't worry, it's going to be recorded. So you can visit us on our YouTube channel or our Redtail Help Desk after Memorial Day to check out a video on how to create this client review process.
All right, it's your last chance to get a bunch of points in there. We've got about 15 minutes left on our call. So where would you like to go next?
We've got some big point questions available. I thought that's where we'd be heading next. Death and Departure for 500.
I think that's where we're going. Oh, it's a double. Wow. Cheers.
Hey, cheers. Cheers to you, everybody, virtually. Let's go ahead and see for 1,000 points. 1,000 points. what are some things that your practice does to recognize and show support to widows? So those of us that have lost a spouse, what is your office doing? What's a strategy that you guys do to make sure that your widows feel recognized and supported after the loss of their loved one?
Attend services, Valentine's Day event, a lot of Valentine's Day events.
Yes, definitely.
Donate to charity in their name.
Absolutely. Cards, attend the funeral.
Gift baskets. Gift baskets are a win. Yeah.
Yes.
Stay in contact. That one, just stay in contact, right? That it doesn't need to be flowers and cards. That's all nice, but just staying in contact with them, being an ear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here were some ideas that Haley and I have for you. So Valentine's Day is going to be one of those dates that you should focus in on of being a day of particular loneliness. And so like flowers or a gift or a card on Valentine's Day is always great. Acknowledgement of the deceased spouse's birthday. So whatever that person's birthday would have been, acknowledging that date. You could even do the birthday of the person who is the surviving spouse as well. And then also the date of the first anniversary of that person's passing is also a very good date to reach out to that person to just show your condolences and your support for that widow.
Yeah, all of these are great ideas. I think staying in contact is the biggest one, or helping them handle, like just being an ear for their questions. And you see this happen, maybe not a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but you see your clients pass away. There's a process behind it. This is the first time, hopefully, they're experiencing it, right? So you can give them a lot of guidance and answer a lot of questions for them. So how do you remember to do that? Because there's definitely a lot of required things you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lot of nice to have items on top of it. And how do we remember to do all of it? It's through a workflow. You guessed it. And this workflow is going to guide you through what you have to do. You have to acquire the death certificate, update the date of death field in Redtail, update the family name, all of that fun stuff, right? And then this, if there's a surviving spouse, like Austin said, recognize Valentine's Day or the surviving spouse's birthday or the marital anniversary. Maybe these dates that even family wouldn't think to recognize or wouldn't necessarily think about as times to reach out, but you can be that person that reaches out.
Don't overdo it either. You don't want to be constantly reminding them of that. Just
Right.
pick maybe like one or two that you think would be, the most special to them, and choose those dates.
I love that you pointed that out, because I did have an advisor who took this workflow and said, that just seems like a lot. And we were like, oh, no, we don't intend for you to reach out on all of them. It's either or. Adjust the template for one or two. Mm-hmm. Or if their marital anniversary is in February, maybe pick that or Valentine's Day.
Right. Spread it out a little bit. All right, guys, where are we going next? Another big money question. Cancel appointments for $400.
All right. Canceled appointments for $400. According to Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, which of the following is the best script to use for confirming appointments?
All right, poll is live. Go ahead and let us know. This book's a personal favorite of mine. It's a great way of just, if you're interested in psychology or business or negotiation, it's a great way to learn how the mind thinks and how to get people to do things like not cancel their appointments. And so which of these strategies would you use to communicate with your clients? So let's go ahead and give you about 3 seconds to put in your answers. And I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. This one stumped a lot of people on the first webinar, but you guys got it. It's B. Hey, Ms. Smith, is there any additional information I should be bringing to our meeting this Friday? So the strategy behind this is really just, when it comes to confirming meetings, a great way to reduce your amount of cancellations is to first show that person's time is valued, right? That you value that person's time and that you want to do everything you can to offer them a good experience. It's hard for people to turn that down. And then the other thing to do is lead them to easy yeses. Dale Carnegie is huge on this one, is don't lead somebody to an easy no, or give them a back door for them to be able to get out of things, right? Give them easy yeses and they're more likely to confirm and show up for things like appointments. So what is the application for this in Redtail? We got to know who of these people that we need to kind of figure that out for. So we talked about earlier with canceled appointments, recording link notes and changing activity categories from cancel to no-show. And the reason we do this, again, is just good data in equals good data out. When we have that good data out, we can go ahead and review things like issues in our scheduling process or issues with confirming appointments. Are we confirming appointments too late? Are we confirming appointments too early? Also, you can identify which clients cancel a lot with something like a keyword. So you have a keyword here as an example, admin cancels often. This is the person that you need to pay particular attention to because they're prone to cancel their appointment.
Exactly. I think we have time for one more question. Last chance to get those points. Where would you like to go? Employee management for 400. Awesome.
Yeah, let's check it out. All right. I'm going to be honest, this one is a tough one, but it illustrates a good point. So let's see what the audience thinks. According to the Society for Human Resource Management, what is the average cost of onboarding a new employee? So how much do you think you spend from beginning to end, getting that person from recruiting them to all those different times where you're meeting with them and interviewing and all that different process? What is the monetary value of that entire process? And so let's see what you guys thought. I'm gonna give you about 3 more seconds to take your best guess on this one. Poll closing in 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Oh, we're just neck and neck. 40% said $2,343 and 40% said $4,129. If you took the higher value for $4,129, you got that one right. Give yourself 400 points. Yeah, guess what? Bringing on new employees, no matter which way you cut it, is expensive. So we want to be able to reduce that process, and we want to create a seamless experience for that employee to become on board, because the longer it takes for them to get up to speed, the more money it's going to cost us. And so what are some recommendations we have for how you can use Redtail for that? We talked about this one a little bit previous, but it actually starts with the previous employee leaving, or when the new position is created, recording notes about that exit interview is what we call it, where we're asking the previous employee, hey, what can we do to make your job more efficient? What are some things that we can make the next person that comes into your position more happy? And so note templates are a great way to do that inside Redtail. So here's an example of a note template. Again, this is available for you in the PDF version of your document.
Sorry.
All good.
We actually have time, I think, for one more. I thought we only had time for one, but we have time for one more, so we can get that other 400 wealth transfer. Meredith requested it here.
Okay.
And so did Michelle. Awesome, guys. And Deborah.
All right. Let's go ahead and get the poll up for that one. Okay, so the question we have for you today is, what is the most essential piece of information to gather for clients' family members? So we talked about it's important to add those contacts to your CRM, right? What are some of the most important pieces that you should be adding to track? So is it their tax ID number, their date of birth, their first or last name, nickname, or marital status? So I'll give you 3 seconds here since we're running a little bit short on time. 3, 2, 1. Let's see how you did. So this one was kind of a trick question. There really is no right answer for this one. It's really what's most important to you. I was actually part of doing the Q&A for course 1 today, and someone asked a question of like, I live in Texas. Everybody has a nickname, right? So for that person, nickname would be an important thing to do. Or if you're big on reaching out to that person on their client's, or excuse me, their birthday, then maybe the date of birth is something that's important to you record for your client's family members. But regardless of whatever it is that you do, here are some things that we see commonly used by Redtail users when adding information about family members. And then the example that we have for you is what is called a required information workflow. So how this works is it is a workflow of those different essential pieces of information. I got a question earlier today as well saying, is there any way for us to force my office to enter in certain fields? Well, we don't have that feature available yet, but what we do have is a workflow that can be linked to that contact. So that way that person has to sign off saying, yes, I entered in that person's date of birth. Yes, I entered in that person's tax ID number. And so it's a great way to instill accountability and making sure that you're getting the most essential pieces of information into those client records for your client's family.
I'm not a big fan of required fields in general. The only fields that Redtail requires are first and last name. And a big reason that we don't require a lot of other fields is we don't know what you have, right? We don't know what is available. And if you require a phone number to be filled out, but you don't have a phone number, or you require a tax ID number to be filled out, but you don't have it yet, then there's no way past that. It forces you to fill it out with bad data or incorrect information, which we don't want to encourage. And then there's no task to find the correct data in the future. Whereas this workflow is a great way to require, sorry, that was the dog, to require this information and create action items to reach out and get each of these pieces of information or collect them organically as that conversation moves along. So I want to say thank you everyone for joining us today on this webinar. I know it's a different type of webinar and we're kind of experimenting as we're interacting with you guys. I love seeing the interaction. Stick around for just 1 or 2 couple more minutes here. Fun fact, you guys saw Leonidas up here with me earlier. You might see him on the login page. There's his picture when he was a puppy, like 2 months ago, right there. And what do you do with that score? Tell us your score. What did you all get? Let us know in the chat.
Yeah, I'm seeing some high scores here, 9,600, a lot of 6,000s, which is good. You're something to brag about, right? If you broke that 6,000 mark, that's something to be proud of for sure. Lots and lots of scores coming in. Congratulations, everybody. You did awesome today. I just want to let you know the fun continues tomorrow. So if you want to join us for course number 4, we're going to have a new game board ready for you to go. All new topics, all new questions, lots of fun strategy coming your way. So be sure to tune in for course 4 if you are registered. And so what did you win today? You won some bragging rights. Go flex on everybody, man. You were so smart. You are a strategy master for the Redtail CRM. And so go ahead and share with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever your choice is. Just be sure to use the hashtag Redtail Summer Series or hashtag Strategy Challenge. We'd love to connect with you and hear about your awesome scores.
And I saw a couple people comment, I got interrupted by my advisor, or maybe an admin pulled you away if you're an advisor. Just go ahead and add an extra 500 points to your score if you got pulled away. For each time you got pulled away. There you go. Bump your score up a little bit.
Yeah, also a reminder is we also have the PDF version of our slide deck. So we didn't get through every question today, but that's okay. If you want to see more examples and recommendations that we have as far as strategy for using your Redtail CRM, be sure to check out the PDF copy. It's available for you in the chat box. Rick's gonna go ahead and post it in there so you can go ahead and download that and print out the slides. And then of course, all the information today was recorded. So it's gonna be posted to our YouTube channel and our help desk after Memorial Day for you to go ahead and check out and recap if you want us to go back and rewind any of the strategies that we have for you today.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.